Well, that was a quick finish. My 11 Circle presents Crick Buzz Live. They often say about the limited form of the game that it's sometimes more about fours and sixes and less about singles. Well, there may also be singles in the game, but not single digits. Sri Lanka had as many as 8 single-digit scores in their reply, and that was never going to be enough to chase down 201. A convincing victory for Team India, taking the series out 2-0. And to just look back on a series, well, it's been a quick series. One match was washed out, and 2 of them have gone in India's favour. I've still got Zahir Khan, Harsha Bogle in the studio, trying to find a word to describe that. Clinical may have been the previous game. Convincing this one, or even
disappointed. I'm disappointed. Over the years, we've seen such good Sri Lankan teams. And what were the numbers post the World T20 of 2016? They've lost 39 games out of 57. Clearly, there's a reason that's happening. It's a strange scorecard, though. I was just looking at this. Angelo Matthews and Dhananjay De Silva put on 68 in 6 overs, approximately 68, about 6 overs. Nothing on either side of it. So yeah, it was disappointing. I think Zach made the point that they might struggle with the extra pace of Bumrah, Saini and Thakur, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, in fact, the spinners, as we were looking at it, was a bit of a reversal to what happened with the Sri Lankan bowlers. Their spinners were the only ones who contributed, but nothing from their pace bowlers. Just the reverse here. Have a look at this. The spinners, really, other than those 2 wickets in Washington from the second spell, they were wicketless and they were all going at over 10 and over. But the impact came from Bumrah's first spell. Didn't get to bowl again, and 2 for Shardul Thakur and Saini once again. That 1 Yorker, but 2 more wickets to finish the innings off.
What was exciting to see was the follow-up by the Indian pace battery in this game. That was important. When you have a good game, you got to follow it up with another good game in terms of those processes, intensity. I think that's where this bowling unit ticked that box very nicely. When you score in excess of 200, that pretty much sets the huge platform. That your tail is up as a bowling unit when you walk onto that field. But what's important is to follow the processes. I think Indian bowling lineup did exactly that. Kept that intensity up. What worked in the first match, they knew exactly if they repeat it again, they'll possibly get the same result. And in a game like this, you need that start from Sri Lankan batsmen, to have some kind of impact on the game, or for them to give that chance. Setting that tone was very important, but Indian bowlers were right on the money with that first spell, creating that pressure. Not, I mean, first 3-4 overs, 15 runs is you always behind the game. And that is something I think was a big achievement by the Indian bowlers, setting that tone, keeping the intensity going and following it up from the previous match.
Yeah, I mean, 5 overs, 26 for 4, game was over. But we were chatting while we were watching the game. It seemed to be played at a different pace, at a different level in those first 5 overs. Just the sheer intensity with which the 3 quicks were coming in. And I mean, you get the feeling, who are India's top quicks? Suppose you're asked, right, who are India's top quicks? I don't think Shardul would figure in the top 5 or 6. What has he done? That tells you about the depth. What has he done today? Forget the runs he came and scored at the end. He's bowling a heavy ball. He's knocking wickets over. He's taking 3 wickets. And he's doing what every good player must do. He's saying, look, you gave me a chance. I've taken it. Now it's up to you to find someone better.
In fact, to add to what you said, neither would you mention Navdeep Saini really, except in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
You would probably be mentioning Umesh Yadav, Mohammad Shami, in the test match version, Ishant Sharma, enough, and then these guys would be at the back of the queue. So what was even more heartening is this pace bowling victory without Jasprit Bumrah bowling his 4 overs.
And I'm suddenly thinking all these guys in Chennai are celebrating all of a sudden. They've got Deepak Chahar, they've got Shardul Thakur. Suddenly it's looking much better.
And RCB also feeling decent about Saini.
Yeah.
As we already said.
Yes, RCB is, yeah.
Washington Sundar, don't forget Washington Sundar as well.
There you go.
Why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, but I'm very impressed with Shardul Thakur because he got the ball to shape away, he kept at it, picked up wickets, and there's something about him. Last time you could be tempted into thinking that he swung the ball, it came off, 16 or 5 balls, 6 balls, it happens someday. Today he's done it again. Which means there's more to him. Which means he's not just swinging his bat. There's much more to him.
Actually, you can call it Shardul 2.0, which should have been the previous version. Whatever I've seen of Shardul in domestic circuit was someone who can bowl a heavy ball, who's got a good Yorker and a bumper. and has that away swinger, which was his strength. But for some reason, when he played international cricket, this kind of bowling actually had not been seen from him. And this is the first time I'm seeing him calm, composed, and be certain about what he wants to do, and that is something which is a great positive from this series. Yes, previous series he did make that impact, but I think he's looking different for sure. I think in a bowler's career there comes a time where you are more sure of your game, or you understand better exactly what works for you, and I think Shardul is looking in that phase. It's very important for him to capitalize on this and look for a long haul. Because just a couple of series back, he was nowhere in the mix. So he's got
Plus
this,
the injuries,
he's
the comeback.
got this chance. He had that groin injury, I think, which kept him away after Asia Cup. So it's a comeback of sorts for him, and a great chance for him to cement his place
and
back in the team.
Remember, he got injured during the Test match.
And since Indian team has been pretty much focused on that number 8 slot or number 7 slot, adding with the bat, I think he's providing them that balance as well. So all in all, I think things are looking good, looking ahead for the rest
follow
of the
Ranji
year.
Trophy scores, and you see Shardul Thakur batting 7, 8, scoring runs. But someone say, Ranji Trophy, sometimes you're playing against lesser sides, you're scoring runs, but he looks a good player. So, we've been watching cricket in India for so many years now. Never before has there been this kind of base among fast bowlers. Never before.
And such a choice.
I'm thinking now, when Srinath and Venkatesh Prasad came through, early 90s, by 94, Venkatesh Prasad had come in 96, he played Test, Srinath started 92, 93. If they had this kind of base, we wouldn't have bowled Srinath into the dust. And poor Srinath got bowled into the dust because every time the captain wanted something, there was one bowler to go to. Now, all of a sudden, there's no Deepak Chahar in this, there's no Bhuvneshwar Kumar, there's no Mohammad Shami. And you still have enough firepower to knock out an opposition side. That's brilliant to see.
And you would have obviously, you would have obviously seen him in his formative years. So, what have you seen in him now that he's developed into this senior bowler? Forget the batting part of it.
Well, I think he's holding his shape nicely now. That is something which was very evident. The seam of the ball going towards that first second slip was something which you would immediately notice when Shardul was bowling in his early years. That is something which was missing at the international level. He in between lost that shape, so he was looking to push the delivery in, and because that shape was not coming, then he was relying more on the slower deliveries. If you look at last 3 games which he has played, how many times he has actually started with bowling those variations? He has hardly gone to those variations. As a bowler, when you're getting those stock delivery going and the one which is really important, you're able to deliver that, then you don't go to your variations. I think in this series, from the Indian bowling point of view, what was impressive was they've not really gone to bowling too many slow ones. They've used the bouncer to great effect, and they've used pace up variation to a great degree. Like today's example also, when Shardul got hit for that 6, he still persisted with that length. Rather than in this format, how often you've seen bowlers tend to use the slower one, which at times becomes predictable because batsman is also then waiting for it. But that is something which was a big change from this series. They backed the plan of sticking to their strengths and not really going for that variation just because they're playing a format.
And the thing was, if you look at the nature of the bowling victory, yes, they had 201, they had a bit of a cushion, but it's one of those efforts where they could have defended 140.
Yeah, you don't know how the opposition would have batted, to be fair, but that's a fair call. My 2 moments of this bowling, I like to pick up these little moments. One was a Chahal run out. Just the close-up on Chahal, there's something very delightfully goofy about him. He does the run out and he was sitting there, and there's something very cute, very goofy about him. But also the second Yorker in the series from Navdeep Saini. He's got Kushal Perera out again with a Yorker. Again, a quick Yorker, base of the stumps was funny. And look, in the top order, look down the Gunatilka, Avishka, Kushal, Oshada, Matthews. Who's the one guy who can turn a game around is Kushal Perera. And to knock him over like that was good fun.
Yeah, two certain moments, but if you really had to pick out the positives for Team India, we'll also look at the positives for Team Sri Lanka as they leave. But for Team India, obviously we've already talked about the batting of Shikhar Dhawan, but lower down the order, when you talk about someone like Manish Pandey, he said after the game that coaches always kept telling him, look, your chance will come, and he was aware of it. And today he took it.
Also, he's 30, 31 now. He's more mature. He's far more mature. Just got married. I think that puts you in, that changes things.
Yeah, he's actually experienced white ball cricketer. You know, he has played enough to know how to go about it. Today was actually a classic example because wickets were falling at the other end. So you know, as a batsman, you can actually get caught up in that tempo, and you've seen then teams falling short by 15-20 runs than what is expected of them. So from that point of view, I think he showed that maturity there. That you know he held that one end, even though you know the main job was done of setting the platform. I think it was important that someone finishes the innings. You know, someone from the top 5 goes not out back in the dressing room, which was also important, and he just did that.
We have to give credit one more time to our colleague Ajay Jadeja, because he insisted when Manish Pandey walked out to bat. It's a different matter what the stakes were, but he insisted that he was going to be not out and not out at the end.
Different matter who the stakes were against.
Yes, that too. But yeah, I mean, and we also cheekily
No, but he's
mentioned
got a valid
his
point.
life partnership as one of the reasons that would have calmed him down a little bit.
But it does. The great couple, they've also said that. But Zach is absolutely right. When you get to the last 12 balls, if you have a set batsman, it can make a difference of 5 or 6, 7, 8 runs, and that can be the difference in the match sometimes. So he got a couple of boundaries at the end. It wasn't just Shardul Thakur hitting, the couple of boundaries at the end. In fact, that partnership was actually very interesting. They took the score from 164 to 201, and they only came together with 14 balls left. So there were boundaries on both sides. I thought he finished well.
Yep.
He likes that stage. You know, it's interesting. Tom Moody told us his story that when he was sitting together, he asked him, you're a senior player, Indian player, what number would you want to bat? He said, I want to bat 5. You would have thought in T20, somebody like Manish Pandey would say, I want to bat 3, right? But he said, I want to bat 5. Maybe he likes that role.
If you look at the strike rate, I think, you know, he has matched the strike rate of someone who has got a big 6 hitting ability. You know, he scored what, 32 runs of 18 deliveries.
Yeah, 31 of 18.
Yeah, so that shows that, you know, his strike rate was at par with any of the biggest hitters at that stage in the game. But when you look at his innings, he just knew exactly what his areas are, and he stood by that. He rotates the strike very well. Even in that stage of the match, you know, it's important that, you know, you play risk-free cricket, and I think, you know, that's where his comfort zone lies. I think, you know, he likes that situation of the game where he's certain of his game plan, and he knows exactly that, you know, he can keep the scoreboard ticking. If some 6-hitter is batting with him alongside, then that makes a huge
Like
difference.
he got today with Shardul.
Like he got today, you know, with if Shardul was not there, say a Shreyas or say
Or that new man who's batting with the slums, Virat Kohli.
exactly,
He could have been there.
or Samson, whoever. But I think if someone else is taking that role and hitting that big shot for a 6 or 2 in that innings, then, you know, it balances out. I think, you know, as a whole in that last 3 overs, if you're able to get what 12, 13 runs per over, I think, you know, that's what is expected of you at that stage.
And he was also not out in the one game he played against Bangladesh, 22 of 13
Are you
balls.
suggesting he likes not outs?
Yeah, well, I think
Because when you say he likes not out, it's got a second meaning.
It does.
He wants to stay not out.
It does.
But in this case, he didn't plan to stay not out. He
suspect
wasn't
if someone
taking
would-
singles or knocking it
I
right.
suspect if someone would have asked a young